Welcome to the Gum Springs Community Annual Event that recognizes and honors Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Gum Springs is the oldest African American community in Fairfax County. This year, we have partnered with First AME Church of Alexandria, whose pastor is the Reverend Dr. Abram Smith. This year's event will not be a candlelight vigil. Instead, we will have a community video that features the Reverend Dr. Johnnie L. Abram, pastor of Harvest Assembly Baptist Church, and Reverend Barbara Breland, pastor of Destiny Temple of Faith Church. They will be providing their thoughts on this year's theme, what would Martin Luther King do in a time like this? We hope you will enjoy the video that's being produced by the community. Thank you.
Wake up in the morning, don't go sleep in bed. No more back to sleep, time for living again. World changed so very much, what it used to be. There's so much hatred, oh, and poverty. Oh, wake up all teachers, time to teach us the way. Maybe they'll listen to what you have to say. They're the one that's growing up, the world in their hands. When you teach the children, send the best that you can. Oh, 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 yeah, better. If we just let it be.
Good afternoon. I'm Reverend Barbara Breland, the pastor of Destiny Temple of Faith, United Church of Christ. I would like to thank Sister Queenie Quox, the president of the New Gum Springs Civic Association, and Pastor Abraham Smith of First AME Church of Alexander, and Bishop Johnnie Abrams of New Harvest Assembly Baptist Church for this opportunity to participate in the Martin Luther King Jr. birthday celebration. Think with me today on just a few moments on the power of one. What would be Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s 92nd birthday today? As we reflect over the year of 2020 and this new year of only 7 days, we see the the power of one. As the coronavirus of 2019 has impacted the lives of everyone around the world. As of January 5th, 2021, there have been 87,000 million cases worldwide. There have been 1.89 million deaths. In the US, there have been 22 million cases and 365 deaths. In Fairfax County, there have been 46,000 cases and 691 deaths. We have seen the power of one person being infected with this disease, and now it has spread throughout the world. We also see the power of one in our politics. In 2011, citizen Donald Trump started a birther movement about then President Barack Obama not being born in America. From the birther movement of 2011 throughout the next 10 years, the flames of bigotry, hatred, white supremacy, white privilege, xenophobia, lies about election fraud, election irregularities were stoked and culminated into an angry mob storming the United States Capitol building to stomp out the voice of the people that have voted to elect a new president, the power of one. We've also seen the power of one reignite protests all around the US in the killing of George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, Rashad Jackson, and Breonna Taylor, only to mention a few, the power of one. We've also seen the power of one from the work of Stacey Abrams with her Fair Fight and the host of others that have come alongside her to make sure that every vote in Georgia and in the United States of America gets counted and makes a difference. We are the power of one, but we're also interconnected. We were designed and created to live and be in community and with relationship with one another to make this world a better place. We are all black, brown, male, female, tall, short. We're all created in God's image with dignity and a purpose. We are all created in the power of one, but we're all created to be interconnected. Isaiah 43:19 tells us that God says, I am doing a new thing. Do you not perceive it? Though it springs up, I am creating streams in the desert. Oh, the power of one. Beloved, how will you use your power of one? Will you use your power of one to advance and be a part of the new thing that God is doing in 2020, 2021, and beyond? Or will you use your power of one to sow hatred and discord and continue business as usual? Oh, beloved, how will you be and use your power of one? Will you continue to use your power of one to advance the mission and the causes that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. fought for and died for over 50 years ago? Or will you just continue and stick your head in the sand? I think about the message that Jesus said to those that asked him the question in Matthew 25, verse 40, when they said further up in the verses, Master, when did we see you and not feed you? Master, when did we see you and not clothe you? Master, when did we see you in prison and not visit you? And Jesus' response to them was, when you have done it unto the least of my brethren, you have done it unto me. How will you use and be the power of one? Thank you.
difficult days ahead. But it really doesn't matter with me now because I've been to the mountaintop. I don't mind. Like anybody, I would like to live a long life. Longevity has its place. But I'm not concerned about that now. I just want to do God's will. And He's allowed me to go up to the mountain. And I've looked over and I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land. So I'm happy tonight. I'm not worried about anything. I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord.
I'd like to say Happy New Year to everyone, and I'm grateful for the opportunity and privilege that who I call the mayor of Gum Springs, Queenie Cox, for giving me this opportunity to be able to share today. You know, Queenie we call the mayor of Gum Springs, and she's also the president of the New Gum Springs Civic Association. So I'm grateful to have the opportunity and grateful for the opportunity to be here with Pastor Abram Smith, an awesome man of God, and also grateful for the opportunity to be able to share with my co-pastor, Pastor Breland, on today. The presentation today concerning the birthday celebration of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. It's an honor to do this because he has affected so many lives, including my life personally. In fact, I actually chose my life motto after him. If I can help somebody as I pass along, then my living will not be in vain. So, so today, the theme that was given to me was, what would Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. say today if he were alive? Got an opportunity to ponder that in my mind, and I do recall his son, Martin Luther King III, being asked that question, and Martin Luther King III said it this way, and it's really an honest answer. He said, actually, no one would really know, can know exactly what he would say, but he referenced the fact that what you could do is read his books, listen to his tapes, and listen to his sermons, and that would somewhat give you some general idea as to what Dr. King would say. I'm reminded of Dr. King's last speech that he made on this earth, April 3rd, 1968 in Memphis, Tennessee. That speech, as you know, is known as the I've been to the mountaintop speech. And in that speech, he says that I've been to the mountaintop and I've seen the promised land. And he says that I may not get there with you, but we as a people, we will get to the promised land. And of course, obviously, he did not live to be able to see all of the fruit of going to the promised land as a people, but we can witness as a people, the election of President Obama, the first African American president. We can reference as a reference of contact. Certainly, the new elected Vice President, Kamala Harris, and also we can reference from the great state of Georgia, the state where Dr. King came from, where he pastored in Atlanta at the Ebenezer Baptist Church, where just recently Pastor Warnock, who's actually a successor, a few pastors away from the same pulpit that Dr. King preached at, who recently became the first African American senator, United States senator for the state of Georgia. So that's an awesome part of that dream. And also in that same context, Dr. King would be so excited about the fact that that a Jew was also elected, and John Ossoff. So we're grateful for that. As we continue to think about what Dr. King would say today, He would be talking about obviously the discourse that's going on and politically, and obviously with the big mob storming the Capitol on yesterday. So they'd be thinking about things of that nature. And when Dr. King was alive, he preached against the Vietnam War, and since his death, we've had a number of wars. He certainly would have been very influential in commenting concerning those wars, because he preferred, obviously, not to have war, but he also preferred that that the funds that would be used for the war would be used to help us economically and help poor people and help people, to advance, and use those funds almost like defunding the police. Another way of saying it, reallocating the funds in the right way. And so Dr. King were alive today, he would also continue to preach. I know he would continue to preach about nonviolence. And one of his statements was that if we do not subscribe to nonviolence, then after a while we'd have the non-existence of everyone if we did not subscribe to nonviolence. Dr. King would also speak against racial injustice that would be happening. I know time is somewhat limited in the presentation, but that's a lot to go along with that racial injustice. He definitely would say, take your knee off my neck. He would certainly say that, and so that I could breathe. Amen. And Dr. King, God just used him, and his spirit today is very much still alive. The dream is still obviously coming to pass. One of the things that he also would do, he was somewhat of a mediator in terms of trying to bring the nation together. He would certainly be very influential, and we're grateful for that legacy of doing that. And final few things I want to say is that he certainly would stand up with the Black Lives Matter movement. Not only would he just stand up, he'd say stand up and speak up. He'd be very happy with the young people participating today, because he himself was a very, very young man, along with Congressman John Lewis, and helping with the movement. He certainly would stand up. He would kneel with Colin Kaepernick. He would do that. He would be he certainly would be upset concerning the Charlottesville major incident with the Nazis going on down then in that particular time. And so Dr. King would do so many wonderful things today that would still be effective. But the words that he said and the principles that he left us are still in effect. And because he said, one of the things that he said was that we should love one another, and in loving one another, he says it's better to love, because it's just so detrimental to have the weight of hatred that you're carrying around. So it's better to love than to carry the weight of hate. And one last thing that I know that he would still preach concerning the being judged by the character of our character, rather than just by our skin, the color of our skin. And so that's what he would definitely share with us today. And so I'm grateful for the opportunity to have shared those moments. And so all of us who are gathered today, we still can keep the dream alive, because the dream is still unfolding every day. God bless you.
Children, wade in the water. the water. See that men are dressed in white. God's gonna trouble the water. It looks like the man that the Israels led. God's gonna trouble the water. See that band are dressed in red. God's gonna trouble the water. It looks like the band that Moses led. God's gonna trouble the water. Way in the water. Way in the water, children, way in the water. God's gonna trouble the water. One of these mornings, it won't be long. God's gonna trouble the water. You look for me and I'll be gone. God's gonna trouble the water. Going up to heaven to sing and shout. God's gonna trouble the water. Be nobody there to put me out. God's gonna trouble the water. Way in the water. Way in the water, children, way in the water. God's gonna trouble the water. God's gonna trouble the water. God's gonna trouble the water.
At a time like this, I feel Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. would say, I know we all want to see something changed in the world. For this to happen, we must take action and speak out on the injustice in the United States.
I think he would be disappointed how things haven't really changed. So I think he would say something like, they say it's better, and in some cases it is, but we are still living in the past.
I feel like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. would be very disappointed in the way we are living right now and how we are treating other people.
Martin Luther King had a dream that things would be better today and that we would treat others the way we want to be treated and there would be no violence and racism.
I think he would not be satisfied with, well, it's a little bit better, so why aren't you happy with it? I don't think he would be satisfied until justice was fully received on both ends.
I feel that if Martin Luther King Jr. could see the world today, he'd be very upset in how divided we are. He'd also be very upset in how violent recent protests have become.
Some people use force to get what they want, and others use their voices. Some get physical and some get verbal. I also will tell you, even when you have temptations to fall into evil and fight fire with fire, you must not, because you will only transform into those who hate against you.
What MLK Day means to me is that everyone should fight for equality and that everybody should also be treated equally no matter their race, where they're from, or the color of their skin.
We should be all equal because we're all equal under the eyes of God. Whether you're black, white, straight, gay, we're all equal.
Things may seem unfair at first glance, but I ask you, think of the consequences. Ask yourself, are they good or bad? Are the consequences worth taking the risk? We have seen in our history what has worked and what has not, but we do not need to revert back to the pre-civil rights era. If we continue to take barbaric discriminatory actions, it will only cause more inequitable division among us instead of uniting us together.
Martin Luther King once said today, we will rise as one. Keep the faith, keep the hope. Black Lives Matter. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Pastor Abram Smith Jr., pastor of First AME Church in Alexandria, Virginia. I have had the opportunity to work with Queenie Cox, who we have coordinated this production to present to you in your living rooms, in your businesses, as we celebrate the legacy and history of Dr. Martin Luther King. It's been over 50 years since his death. And because we are here celebrating, we remember his legacy. We remember that he was a drum major for justice, a drum major for freedom and equality. We are excited that that I'm allowed, that Queenie is allowed to be able to bring this to you in celebration for all that he did and all that he shared with this country and for this nation. I'm excited. I'm delighted to be in your presence this evening to share his legacy and what he's done for all of us. If I may use a quote that Dr. King said, if we're going to get together, we need to do this. If we can't fly, let's run. If we can't run, let's walk. If we can't walk, let's crawl. But however we get there, let's get there together. So I thank God for the opportunity to come into your living rooms and to share the life and legacy of Dr. King. May God bless you. May God keep you. May God shine upon you and give you peace, joy, and a good life. Thank you.
With every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound light as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won.